global network if you have some branch offices which need to access the system across internet. And you have a freedom of deployment geographically to meet your organizational needs. The server role in the whole processing is to centralize the control, the administration, and the security of the whole system. Server also provides the workload balancing functionality so that the resources of all those multiple systems can be balanced and used most efficiently. The stations provide the processing power to the solution. The entry point to the system can be a scan station or auto-registration station. The scan station allows you to drive the attached scanning devices. Auto-registration station allows you to integrate that system with multiple front ends. You can be receiving your documents from hot folders on local network or VPN networks. You can receive the images across FTP or SFTP connection. docAlpha has tight integration with email, so you can automatically process your incoming invoices sent as attachments to your email messages. Then you can also use connectors to MFPs at the panel level integration, such as Sharp or Kyocera, for example, where you can right in the panel of the device type in the destination workflow you'd like to initiate, or just click a button sent to docAlpha to initiate the processing. And then, of course, this system will receive that batch of images and register it for processing. The server will then batch it together, those images, and send to the next available recognition station. There is no station available at that point. It will do the queuing based on the priority of the batch. Once the station becomes available, it receives the batch and does the processing. Typical first step is image cleanup and improvement. Despeckle, deskew, rotation of image to proper orientation, improving the contrast. So all those steps are done to make the images more readable and more accurate for recognition. Then the recognition and classification start. Classification means telling which documents are scanned into that batch or received by fax into that batch. The classification is an important step because it allows you to avoid manual pre-sorting. Rather than having tedious manual pre-sorting of the documents and then tedious inserting of separator pages into the batch, you can use advanced classification and intelligent batch splitting to automatically tell what documents are scanned and to separate a sequence of scanned pages into multi-page documents such as an invoice or a purchase order or a packing slip and other documents that might be flowing through the organization. Once it classifies the documents, it knows the identity, what it is, it applies field extraction. From one page or from multi-page documents, goes across all of the document content, find the fields, the text field, the check marks, the barcodes, sometimes the hand-printed fields, or whole tables of information, such as a line item detailed extraction. And then after extracting those fields, it also automatically validates that those fields comply with your requirements. For example, that mathematically the table reconciles by rows and by columns, that your vendors do show up in your accounting system, and that their amounts paid on those, requested on those invoices are matching to our purchase orders, outgoing amounts that we sent to those vendors. So it can do a lot of automatic validation, further decreasing the amount of work that your operators have to do. Now, with all those steps done on recognition station, batch goes back to the server and then typically is reviewed by an operator. You can skip the operator review when you're processing really high-quality documents, such as invoices generated directly to PDF and email to you as attachments. But for a more typical paper-based process where you scan received in paper invoices, it's recommended to include an operator into the review here so that any discrepancies or low confidence areas are addressed. So operator will answer the questions such as, is that really correctly recognized field in case the system has doubts? Or if a field was required but it's missing on a document, an operator will have a final say, did vendor really omit it, or is just printed in such a low quality or an unexpected location that the system didn't get it. That's an operator's role, to resolve discrepancies to confirm the low confidence things. After that's done, it goes back to the server and then through the export to the final destination, which may be your accounting system, maybe your ERP system, maybe your document management solution, or a multiple of them. It can send this results, the data, the metadata, the images to multiple destinations. Of course, it also includes all the classical destinations such as databases and file system, as well as specialized document management and accounting systems. It's all built during the last 4 years, and it's all very modern code. It's all based on Microsoft.NET service-oriented architecture. It utilizes Windows Communication Foundation and SOAP and XML to communicate between the stations. It provides 1024-bit encryption for a communication layer, so it's very secure communication. That's why you can safely use the branch offices for scanning and verification and any other purposes you want in the system. Many stations run as unattended Windows services, saying that auto registration, recognition, export, they don't require any attention. It's a stop, and you only would stop it in case you need to do the service on one of the servers. But since all of the licenses are concurrent based, you can freely start it on another server immediately and have it highly available for the rest of the team. It's all batch processing. It can process structured, semi-structured documents, so not only the classical form, but semi-structured documents such as invoices, checks, and POs. Well, it's time to do a live demo. It's exactly what I'll do right now. So I'll minimize my presentation screen here, and you should be able to see behind my several stations open. I'll start by a quick description of that workflow I'll be running. That's a basic invoices workflow right in here, including 4 stations: registration, recognition, simple capture, verification station, and export station. You can configure your workflows to include more or less steps, to have conditional jumps from station A to station B, and it's very flexible and all visual. I can just drag here my icons for the stations to configure my workflow, then click publish it, and it becomes available for my production people. As I mentioned, many of those stations are unattended, and here you can see that, for example, on this server I have an export and recognition boxes running as unattended Windows services configured to restart every time my server reboots. To be able to see what those back-end services are doing, I can connect to any of them and see the real-time reporting from them. Here is one from registration, one from recognition, one from export. It shows me what the server is busy with at any given moment, so I can visualize the processing on the server end. For example, the registration station is watching more than 2,000 different folders, some local, some network folders, and inside the details window you can see that in a parenthesis it says what it will do with that specific folder. If anything is received into that folder, this one will be processing as claim processing, and here will be processing as purchase orders, and here as generic AP, here is dedicated invoices. So you can have multiple tasks, multiple departments utilize this system. Well, now with that introduction to architecture, I'll just run a batch, or actually a couple batches through the processing. I'll start with a simple invoices job. I'll grab here 6 sanitized invoices, and I'll go to a hot folder and paste those invoices there. So I'm imitating receiving them by fax, or scanning them in, or maybe just getting from a branch office. Well, if you notice, it says now on the registration station, processing the invoices folder. And if you were also watching the folder, you noticed I dropped them in 2 sections, and it's already picked up the first batch of those invoices, and that batch is already processing, and they disappear from my hot folder. Now, the recognition station says received the batch processing page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7. So recognition station is going about 2 invoices per second on this specific server. Of course, that exact speed depends on how fast your server is and how clean the images are, how large they are, because many invoices are multi-page. So that's another variable to watch there. But per page, you typically get on the modern equipment about 2 pages per second process. Now, it ran already through the registration, through the recognition. It took merely seconds, as you saw, and it now is waiting for the next step, which is a simple capture step. Simple capture is operator-based station. So I started here as an operator, and I query for my next batch. The batch arrives, and it shows me the image of the document on the right. It shows me in my batch window what I received as a job. Shows me there are 6 documents. One of them is multi-page, has a plus next to it. The rest are single-page invoices. And below it shows details for the first invoice. What I do as an operator, I don't have to go through each invoice or each field. All that I have to do is address suspicious fields on suspicious documents. So I start at a field level, at a character level. I ask it to show me any low-confident characters. If I want to confirm it, just click Enter. If I want to change it, type in correction, then Enter. And this is correct to 8, and that's it. So I had only 4 characters in this batch. I didn't have to go through every field or every page, and I'm done through the character level corrections. Now I'll go through the document level corrections because I see that some of my documents still don't have the status of fully finished. Some of them have other statuses, which means they need more of my attention. I click Verify at a field level, and it brings me to the first document, which has a field level discrepancy. It says the term field is not captured here. Well, it's a multi-page document, so I scroll through the pages, I look on all the pages. I don't see terms printed on any of the pages. So that vendor skipped the terms on his invoice, and I have an ability to confirm it, except with warnings that I validated it, I've seen it, and it's indeed blank. In this case, it didn't pick up a vendor, and vendor is Bell, and it's a graphical logotype, so it didn't pick up because it's not a text information. Now, what you can do, you can just type in that correction as operator if it's a one-off exception, or if you receive many invoices from that vendor, then you can do an automatic lookup, for example, by an address or by a phone number, or here up in Canada, it's a GST number or company registration tax number. Now, with that, if I look on my batch screen, it says there's a green check mark next to each invoice, and also gives me a confirmation here that validation is finished. So I click Send Batch, and that batch is fully processed and ready to go. So that was a simple invoices processing. Look, it's now already on export station. It says exporting batch 1348, and it's finished exporting, waiting for the next job. The next job, I'm going to run some purchase orders with line items extraction. So I'll grab again, like I did before, some sanitized images, but this time will be a little more challenging images. Those images were originally printed by matrix printer, and they were faxed in, not scanned. Which means it will be more degraded, more operator work to do. So we saw some nice images. Now it's time to see some low-quality images. Notice it's already picking up, registering the PO box. And if you look below into that window for hot folder, the image is already gone. So the automatic registration noticed those images coming, picked them up, and register them in a new batch. If you look now to recognition station window, you'll notice the batch number 1349, the next batch arrived, and it was processing it for about 2 seconds. It's done already, so it's sent out for an operator review already. So I'm going back to operator station and getting a new batch. Now this is with line abstraction, so I have an additional window here showing up my line items details and anything which...
All right.